It looks like the government shutdown is ending the way we all thought it would. And that, of course, is with the Democrats caving because it was never really about funding healthcare, etc. It was about them grandstanding to make a point to their leftist base. And this, of course, is what's going to be pointed out by Scott Jennings over on CNN. But before we begin, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
For example, J.B. Pritzker says it wasn't a deal, but an empty promise. Congressman Seth Moulton said caving now makes no sense. California Governor Gavin Newsom called it pathetic and says America deserves better. Senator Chris Murphy added submission emboldens the tyrant. And Congressman Ro Khanna says Chuck Schumer is no longer effective and needs to be replaced. And then you have Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez saying working people want leaders whose word means something.
Look, one thing that came out of this entire fight is that the healthcare system in this country has been, Obamacare, has been exposed as a complete and utter failure. We all know it now. Everybody admits it. The other thing that came out is that Democrats are willing to make people suffer. And you heard Democrat after Democrat today say, well, we just couldn't prolong the suffering. So they admit that their political tactics were designed to inflict suffering on the American people. We also learned about cynical politics in this. But the overall issue of health care is going to have to be dealt with because the system has failed. Everyone, I think it's bipartisan now, admits it. But I'm not sure that having Mike Johnson commit to giving billions of dollars to insurance companies for insurance that's not getting any better, it feels like it's getting worse to the American people, is going to make a difference. I could see Democrats and Republicans coming together to discuss that, like if we're going to spend this amount of money, should we be just giving it to insurance companies or should we be doing something else with it that would actually have a chance of making it feel like you could get seen by a doctor and get a better health outcome? But what we're doing now, writing checks to health insurance companies, is not getting us any better outcomes at all.
But I think what we saw also, I think what America saw, particularly people who were directly impacted and suffering, is they saw that Donald Trump does not give a damn. While people were going hungry, while federal workers were making lines that went round blocks, he was in Mar-a-Lago golfing or hosting lavish parties with seafood towers and caviar and champagne. Not at one point did he say, we have got to convene, I'm going to lead, I'm going to put Republicans and Democrats in a room around a table, like he did with Palestinians and Israelis, and we're going to craft a deal. We are all Americans and we have to figure this out. No, I mean, he just completely abdicated his duty to lead. And when he wasn't hosting a Great Gatsby party, he was giving $40 billion of U.S. taxpayer money to Argentina to bail out those people. Doesn't sound very America first to me. And so I think that put a light on the kind of precedent that people voted for.
Scott, with all respect, you cannot put on the American people that Democrats were the one that were hurting people, making this plight.
Who was casting the votes against opening the government, Democrats or Republicans?
Who was
casting the votes?
Scott, who was wanting to cut SNAP benefits?
Nobody.
And
Republicans
playing up
times.
SNAP benefits after two courts ruled that it was unallowed?
Republicans voted to fund SNAP 15 times. Democrats voted to defund it 15 times. And we had to get 8 to join us.
You talk about the Affordable Health Care Act, okay?
It's terrible.
Landmark legislation is not perfect. We understand that Democrats, Republicans, independents, 70% of Americans, not Democrats, not just independents, 70% of Americans believe that they should increase those subsidies past the dead mark of December, the COVID era subsidy benefits. So it's a huge, huge thing that Democrats, Republicans, 70% agree with. And look, when it comes to the government shutdown, I was of the persuasion that to go for it, I didn't really get it. Democrats wanted a fight. They got a fight. Chuck Schumer, back in last year, didn't fight. He got a lot of flack for it, particularly in his home state of New York. So they wanted a fight, but they found a fight that was worth fighting with talking about the Affordable Health Care Act. People were with them. Democrats were leading in the polls. We won big on Tuesday.
That's what it was for, right? It was for the election, right?
Well, I think we should have kept going. What I don't understand, and which I would love others to help me out understand, I don't understand why we caved so soon when the American people seemed to be on our side.
Because the election ended. You just said it. It was for the election.
Listen,
the election ended. Then you caved.
I know a lot of Republicans. I know a lot of Democrats. They're cut from different cloths. Democrats simply don't have the cold-heartedness necessary to see people suffering and just say, let them eat cake.
Yeah, but then
they are not the types that...
They voted repeatedly to do it. I mean, you just heard Democrats
And what
on
was
our
Donald
air.
Trump doing in the meantime?
He doesn't have a vote in the legislature.
No,
A.
he's the president of the United States, the most powerful president with Republicans in my lifetime, Scott. He never once even told them, come back to Washington.
We just played
Democrat. You guys have been out of Washington for a month and a half.
Correct.
A month and a half.
We just played Democrat after Democrat admit that the Democratic plan to prolong the shutdown was causing, quote, suffering. That was their words, not mine. Democrats themselves realized the tactic of suffering was no longer something they could personally stomach. That was their party, not Republicans.
So what's the point that all of these leftists on the panel keep bringing up? Oh, it was the Republicans who were causing all of this pain and suffering to the American people. All right. But Scott Jennings has to point out 15 times Republicans voted to open up the government and fund the SNAP benefits, etc. And 15 times the Democrats voted against it. So who were the ones causing all the pain and suffering? It was, of course, the Democrats. It was all on their shoulders. And as also Scott Jennings mentioned, it was for the election, apparently, right? Funny how the elections happened last week, and then this week they're voting to open up the government. All right, because that was actually an effective tool in those blue states, right? Virginia, New Jersey, New York. What's going to hurt the people the most there? Cutting off their SNAP benefits. So how can we really rally the base in those blue states? Cut off their SNAP benefits. And honestly, it was an effective tactic for the Democrats, okay? They got what they wanted, and now they're reopening the government. But then, of course, you have Ana Navarro out there saying, oh, Democrats are different from Republicans. We can't stand to see pain and suffering out there. And on one level, I'm actually going to agree with Ana Navarro, right? Because when it comes to SNAP benefits or unemployment benefits or any type of government program, they are willing to give it to anyone without cause whatsoever. Able-bodied human being, you get Medicaid, right? Strong young man, you get Obamacare, okay? They're willing to give away free money to anyone without any scrutiny whatsoever. Whereas you and I, we work hard for our money, right? We work hard for our daily wage, and we kind of think, why in the world does someone on SNAP get $3,000 a month in food when they seem to be able to walk around perfectly well? Right? They seem to be able to hold down a job. But of course, the Democrats will dig in their heels, kick and scream and cry and pound on the ground anytime we even bring up the idea of a work requirement. And not a big work requirement either, just 20 hours a week. So yes, Ana Navarro, when it comes to that simple fact, we are cut from different cloth. But she also goes on to say that, oh, Donald Trump didn't act like a leader, right? He could have brought the parties together and negotiated a deal. He tried that. Remember how all of this started, Anna? Donald Trump cut off negotiations because the Democrats were demanding health care for illegal immigrants and, of course, undoing all of the cuts that were done by the big, beautiful bill. All right, that's why Donald Trump cut it off. He's like, they're not going to negotiate in good faith. So we have nothing further to talk about. And that's when the shutdown happened. But I do love the overall byproduct of the shutdown. And that was the simple fact that, yes, even the Democrats are admitting that Obamacare is broken, right? It doesn't work without massive subsidies. And that could be a big win in the coming months. And the one thing I do want to say is congratulations, Democrats. You shut down the government all this time and you bought yourself another 12 weeks before the next shutdown battle. Okay. And honestly, I hope this is the point in time that Republicans can reveal their big healthcare overhaul, because I've been hearing some things the last few days that I've really been liking about this topic, but we'll have to wait and see if we actually have a plan that is ready to be unveiled, and fingers crossed that it actually does happen. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and say hi to your mom for me. Do you like t-shirts? Of course you do. And now you can support the channel by buying an Angry Teacher t-shirt designed by me, Angry Teacher. So if you like America, if you like freedom, if you like liberty, then go ahead and click the link in the description, where all designs, of course, are 100% mother approved. So enjoy yourself and find something you like today.